Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Good to be here again. I'm Steve Costello. My colleague over there in Ireland is Leo Farberg.
Hi,
And
everybody.
today we're going to talk about cognition, cognitive functioning. What on earth is that, Leo?
Well, this is something everybody values and everybody talks about, but to be honest, I see that not many people really understand what it is, um, because we value intellect and thinking and logic, and rightfully so, but it's not all we have. Um, So, and it's very important, but it is very important to understand and to uh, understand how your thinking operates and how your thinking affects your well-being and your life, and vice versa, how your life and your stresses and your experiences affect your thinking. And it's how we analyze things, how we understand things, how we explain things, and what consequences we can predict through our thinking.
Yeah,
So, what's your view of this?
I
The
think
your
I agree
definition.
entirely with what you just said. One thing that springs to mind is quite often relating to cognition, we may go down a rabbit hole that's not the right rabbit hole because our thinking has been impaired by something. It could be stress. It could be what's going on at work. It could be anxiety. It can be a ton of things, obviously.
Can
You know,
be
so
feeling unwell, just sick or
yeah,
something.
yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of things that can affect our cognition, our cognitive functioning. One that comes up quite a lot, and Leo and I talk offline before we record this. So I was talking about listening to a podcast that was made by Herbalist, which was quite interesting. But yeah, they were talking about stress in ways that I didn't agree with. They were talking about powering through. And then when you feel really stressed, take some herbal tea. And that's not going to fix it. Not really. It might
Mm,
help. It might calm things down a little bit, but it's really not going to fix it. So, for example, think about it like this. If you're having a really difficult time at work, it's stressful. I have a current client who told me that she's doing the job of three people currently. And that kind of blew my mind. I thought I do the job of one person. That can be stressful sometimes. But doing the job of three, wow. And they're not the same job. You know, these three roles are quite different. But she's having to multitask, multi-skill, and do all kinds of things to keep this system, this business afloat. And it's causing lack of sleep. She's waking up in the night with a work thing in her head. And she's even started putting a notepad by the bed so that when she gets a work thing in her head, she writes down whatever it may be, and then tries to go back to sleep. She often doesn't go back to sleep. What happens when she gets up in the morning to manage her two under 10-year-olds? She's already stressed and she's still tired because she's not had a full night's sleep. And that affects her memory. She forgets stuff because of all this challenge she's having with her cognitive functioning. Her concentration, she's a little bit self-described as a little bit like a butterfly. So
mm,
I fly around, I land on something, then I fly around and land on something else, and she's not staying long enough to finish the thing before. Problem-solving skills are challenged. She had one in particular, but several pretty big decisions to make in the fairly near future, but her problem solving skills are just not working at the level that I know they can from when I first met this person, you know? So all kinds of things can happen when our cognitive function is challenged. So what can we do about those things? How do we manage our sometimes overwhelming life responsibilities? Because if we've got too many overwhelming life responsibilities, our capacity, our mental bandwidth kind of shrinks smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's all this stuff flying around in our head that's not being managed. But what can we do? Help. That's what people are saying. What can I do? Help. So what can we do, Leo?
I always start with this idea, just stop, give it a break. Let's look at things and analyze things as if like we should map out everything that's going on and then work with it in different senses, whether it's paying attention to things people tend to not pay attention because we usually keep work in our mind, but we forget that loading and unloading your washing machine is work. Uh, remembering taking your kids to some practice is work, because we think in the terms of work as a job where you go work and get paid for it, usually underpaid,
Yeah.
which is also another stressor when you feel that you don't earn enough or you are being treated uh, like unfairly at work or in a relationship or whatever, and it all work because you do it, everything you do it just with one and the same brain and one and the same body, and so you have to analyze all the operations it has to do and see what's important and what's taking strength from you and what bringing back your energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just taken the lid off a big can, basically. And the can is
Yes,
full,
it's
imagine
a
the can
big
is
thing.
full of worms, you know. There's so many
Not
worms, you can't
necessarily.
really
Why
work
don't
out.
we think about a can full of candy,
We can
sweets
do it that way.
for
Um,
kids?
yeah. So we've just opened up a big area, a huge area, and it is confusing. It is difficult to manage sometimes. We do get lost in it. Many people get completely lost and they don't know which way is out. You know, so what can we do? Well, I use a process that basically has 5 steps. So what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks is talking about each step in the process, and that will highlight ways that we can manage, how we can make our own inquiries, or if we can't make our own inquiries, how we can talk to people like me and Leo about how to make those inquiries, because that's what we do. That's what we're pretty good at. So the first step is talking about awareness. And that means recognizing what's going on, recognizing and noticing things that are happening in our world. Quite often we miss things because there's so much flying around. Things get missed, and we need to not miss particular things. We need to think about our doubts. Do we have any doubts? What's a recurring doubt? How many of those are around? And our emotional reactions. Our reactions kind of go off scale a little bit when we're suffering from a high level of stress. For example, there are other things that cause our emotional reactions to pop as well. So we need to think about those. And it's no good just recognizing and noticing. We need to say, well, where do these things come from? And then move on to say, okay, let's think about this. Is this actually a valid thing that's happening to me? This is another step. Is it true? Is it true today? Or is it something I've been holding on to that's no longer true and useful? You know, so we need to look at inquiring. So how do we challenge this stuff? Which is the next step. I've talked too much, so it's your turn, Lee.
No, you started with the 5 steps, and I want to hear your 5 steps so that we
Number
can.
3 is challenge. How do we challenge, disrupt the patterns? What do we do about that?
It's important to know for everyone that uh, to a stress mind, it always seems that there is one threat and no way out because it's just normal reaction to stress. You don't have time, and you don't have capacity to think. You have to save yourself, and it's just running without even realizing where sometimes. And the thing is, after we kind of sit down, uh, open up to the experiences we have, then it's very important to understand that there are things, even if they are minor, even if they may seem uh, insufficient, but there are other ways of perceiving things, uh, creating a different attitude to what's going on. And this is the basic levels of challenge. It's like, let's question what's going on. Let's question are if there are any other ways of perceiving or doing or acting.
Yeah.
Uh, and what stops you from that's probably next level.
Yeah. Just before I jump on to the next one of the things that I like to do with my clients is test the belief they have. I don't mean
Yeah,
a
that's
rigorous, painful, let's pull this apart kind of way, but I mean to test their beliefs in small ways. So let's say you have a belief about the way your work is affecting your life at home. So what would happen if I ask the question, if I act as if this belief isn't true, what's going to happen? Is anything going to change? It's a good way of thinking about the whole thing. So that's one of the things we
I
can do.
like I, I like think about the beliefs in the way that they're like your wardrobe. At some point they fit. At some period of time they uh, are considered to be the right, like in fashion.
Yeah,
And but every now and then you have to check out if they're not fashionable enough, or if they fit you, if they are worn out, and you have to rearrange and your wardrobe, like probably every season. Same with the beliefs. A little bit older, the change of situation, the change of plans. Do you believe work, or are they suitable? Do they fit? And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, you have to rearrange them all the time,
yeah,
especially in
absolutely.
the challenging and changing times we're living in.
Definitely. I love the wardrobe analogy. I think that's really cool. If I look at my own wardrobe, the real, where the shirts come from, I've got shirts that fit perfectly. I've got some that are perhaps a bit too tight. I do a lot of physical stuff, so they get every now and again when I work up here, they get too tight. I've got some that are way too big, but yet I'm not throwing them away because at some stage they're going to fit. The ones that are too small and too tight will fit. They will, so it's an interesting way to think about it. So what can we do after challenging and trying to disrupt our patterns? We can reframe them. And what we want to do is rewrite some of our beliefs, not all of them, because some of them work, some of them are valuable. So we want to rewrite some of our beliefs in ways that serve our growth, our development, our progress forward. So instead of, for example, I'm no good at this, whatever this happens to be, what if we say something like, well, I'm learning and I'm improving every day. So we've challenged a very simple belief and made it into something more positive. Now, okay, that's a really simple example, but that's one way to reframe something that's going on in our world. And then, of course, so if we're going to reframe things, we then need to begin to integrate them. This is step 5. So we need to practice fairly small, but yet they've got to be consistent actions that align with whatever our new belief happens to be. It's no good saying, oh, yeah, I need to have this new belief and practice it for a day or two, and it didn't work. That's because that isn't going to work. It's not ever going to work. So we've got to take small steps. We've got to take them consistently, and don't stop until they become a habit. Now, there's lots of science behind this that we can't go into today. We don't have time. But we can talk about the science of habit formation when we're talking about integrating these new beliefs into our day-to-day lives. And we need to know how to reflect as well. Many of us, when we're running on all cylinders, we're really busy at work, we're really busy at home, it's all happening, it's too much, it's stressful. We stop reflecting. Why do we stop reflecting? Because we don't have the cognitive capacity to do it. We're running around, running around this treadmill or whatever you want to call it. And we don't reflect. So we don't get to ask ourselves questions like, is this belief helpful? There's no time for that. You look like
I
you're going to
would
speak
add,
to it. Speak.
yeah, I would add also, another thing, we are not taught to reflect. We are
No.
taught to obey. We are taught to do our homework, to answer the piece that was told us to be learned. And it's only on the surface we would be told that, yes, you have to think before you speak. But it's just, okay, collect your memories and reproduce what you've learned. Actually, not
Yeah.
reflecting, analyzing, and uh, co considering if this suits the situation, if it's the right thing to do now, it might be a right thing to do in a different circumstance.
Yeah.
But and we're not taught. That's why it needs to be done again and again and again, and with tutoring, some help, some
Yeah.
questions from somebody else.
Yeah. So, talking about help, if anything has struck a chord with you, if you've got a question, don't hesitate. Leave a comment, send a direct message, send an email, whatever it is that you wish to do, and we will get back to you with a response. Otherwise, next time we'll talk about awareness
Mhm.
and let's see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody. Speak to you again really soon. Bye for
Yes,
now.
and see you. Bye.